Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Chat. Good morning.
Or good afternoon. Hey,
What's,
y'all.
what's everybody drinking today?
Deliciousness in a mug. I have black coffee. It's actually decaf black coffee. Is
Excellent.
anyone surprised?
Not really. I have half decaf coffee, and I'll tell you why. I
Oh,
started doing the whole delay caffeine first thing in the morning again. I know. Well,
I give that a
I
meh.
have I have my reasons, but I'm testing out a new tracking device, a ring that's
Uh-huh.
supposed to be like as good as Aura ring,
You're
but
like all the hipsters with your pointer finger ring. Look
better than
at you.
Aura ring, but you don't have to pay a monthly subscription. Anyways, I'm going to be having a video on it at some point in the future. I'm just trying to collect data. But they have a feature on there where it's like they give you a stimulant window, and it's based on when
Oh.
you wake up, I think, is the main thing. So it's like 2 hours after you wake up. And when I did the delaying stimulants before, I wasn't really tracking anything. So I was like, I don't feel any different. Whatever. And so I didn't continue doing it. But now I have all of this data like that it tells you when your heart rate drops to the lowest point of the night, and like if it takes a really long time to drop, that means maybe back off on the caffeine. Like there's all these different data points that they give you, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And so I've done it the last couple of days, and my sleep scores have gone up.
Well, hot dog, but also
Sad
thumbs
about.
down.
So anyways, I had a decaf cup of coffee the first when I first woke up, but I
Yeah.
can't hardly drink the whole thing. I like get partway through it and I'm like, well, that's not fun. And
Hmm.
so it just kind of sits there and gets cold. And then when
Yeah.
my stimulant window opens, I make a regular cup of coffee, but I don't want to waste the decaf that I made. And so I mix it together. So this is the mixed regular and decaf.
Okay. Okay.
That's
All
where I'm
right.
at in my morning.
I mean, it's a spot to be for sure. You talked about your resting heart rate, and I'm like, I wonder where mine is because
Mhm.
it would be interesting to see what my heart rate has done over the past several months because things have sort of, you know, we've gotten a lot more active with the weather having gotten nicer
Yeah.
outside and
Check
whatnot.
it.
But
Did you
I
check it?
also do not feel like no, I don't want to sit there and like sift through, like the piles of data on this
Now
thing.
I'm curious.
Well, I mean, my most of my markers have always like rested in pretty rock solid
Mhm.
healthy ranges.
Mhm.
Like my blood pressure always on the low end of the spectrum no
Mhm.
matter what I do, always low. Even after like they do the whole like take your blood pressure when you're not supposed to, like you like rush back to the exam
Oh,
room.
right.
They don't give you like the 15 minutes of just like letting your heart rate come back down or your
Mhm.
emotions settle out. Nope, right away. Always well below the appropriate markers. So
Right.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, that's good.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But at some point I'll look.
Anyways, all the data is fun and interesting. It does get kind of overwhelming. Like you have to like distance yourself from it emotionally. It's kind of like, weighing yourself on the scale or anything like that, where it's like data is good, but getting emotionally involved in the data or feeling, overly controlled by the data you need to take it to have some balance with it.
What is balance?
Yeah,
Data with discernment. Maybe that's
there you go.
the phrase.
Opposite sides are the new normal. Yeah, for whatever reason, I have been arriving late for our live
Well,
streams, and Lindsay is just like on top of it, always here, ready to go.
well, it's because my daughter's writing lessons switched from being directly before we start the stream to a little bit after we end
Right.
the stream. So the timing for me works out just a little bit better.
That is very nice. And I have no excuses, just that I'm not getting there early enough. I think I'm more ambitious about getting something done before. That might be it, actually. And so I'm
We got to
like,
talk about that. We got to talk about that because
so I'm like, I can finish. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then I'm
it,
like, that,
there's that overconfidence
yeah,
in lack of awareness in what we can
but
accomplish
I
in a
am
smaller
here.
period of time. You were,
I
and you were here before we needed to start the stream. I
exactly.
mean,
So it's all good. It's all good.
yeah, yeah. There's one creator that I follow on the Instagrams, and he talks about like sort of like his common symptoms for his ADHD experience. And one of them is that if he has a middle of the afternoon appointment or a midday appointment, it pretty much ruins every other opportunity for productivity before that because he's constantly trying to remind himself like this still has to happen, like I have to be there for this. So it becomes a hyperfixation to where you can do no other things. And I
That
feel
way.
like it goes, yeah, it goes that way for me, or it goes to the opposite, like, oh, that's not until this time. I've got 2 hours. Of course I can finish like 40 hours of work in that small
Everything.
period of time. Of course
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
The confidence is strong sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like like if I have an appointment or whatever, it's more of a anxiety thing
Uh-huh.
where I'm like, I know that it's coming and I can't relax into doing anything else
For fear you might leave too
just
late
because
or
I'm
miss it.
preoccupied. Well, yes, miss it or just preoccupied with like the stress of
Whatever
it
that
being a
happens to
thing
be.
where you talk to people. Like that's just
Yeah.
how I am. Let's see.
My favorite is whenever I can't decide, I can't anticipate which person will show up, the overambitious person or the um over-consumed by the one task person.
Yes.
It's not a choice I get to make.
Yes. Oh, I understand. Patty is here. Good morning. Evelyn is here, and Chris is here, of course, on time.
Look at y'all. We are so
That's
glad
like
that
2
y'all are
weeks in a
here.
row. Lisa is here. Sing It is here. Blaze, hello. Let's see. Yeah, so Chris says, yes, but does the ring have laser engraving with your favorite brand logo permanently etched on the surface? Unfortunately, no. It's
I
now
think we have a
I'm
friend
sad.
who has a laser engraving machine.
And what favorite brand logo could I possibly put on there? Hmm,
Hmm,
interesting.
fascinating. We'll have to
Food
tease
for
that out.
thought. Penny is here. She says, love my results from delaying my coffee. That is amazing.
That's fantastic.
That's always encouraging.
I I go to bed awaiting the flavor of coffee in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I do think that when I do delay that first cup, I also end up drinking less caffeine throughout the day. So I
I mean,
think
that's
that's also
valid.
to it.
It's valid.
I don't know which one of the things is more important with the getting the better sleep scores or if it's a combination of both, but whatever the case, it is what it is. Yes. So Sing It, I assume you're talking about my mug. Very 70s looking. I think so. I think it's super cute.
I feel like it's a very 90s thing,
Or
but that's just
90s. Yeah.
because I grew up in the 90s, so
Yeah.
to me that's like a,
That's
you know,
probably when things from the 70s were starting to
we're
come back around,
recycled.
maybe? I don't know, because
Yep,
nothing's
like
new.
flare jeans, low
Yes,
rise.
those are coming back.
I I love low rise jeans.
Yeah, okay.
I
I'll let you
have
have those.
no torso, and
Oh,
so mid-rise are so high on me, and I'm like,
oh, that's
"Is it
funny.
supposed to hit my rib cage? I don't understand."
Mhm. Let's see. Jerry is here,
Good
from Wisconsin,
morning.
drinking cold brew, equip, collagen and colostrum. Thanks to Neely. Thank you. And a packet of salty Coco Loco. That sounds like
Nice.
a good way to start the morning.
Definitely.
Yes, when your stimulant window opens, you run to get coffee. Yeah. That's the way it goes. Yeah, and it's like so then when I, like, sleep in late, I'm like, "Shoot, now my stimulant window is all the way, so late." It's like, I should get up earlier.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense, but Yeah. Looking at data is good, but Lieutenant Commander data is better. Of course. Of course.
Let's get those pop culture references in quick.
Mhm. I am a Trekkie, I will say. I grew up watching Next Generation. I've watched them all. I do like Star Trek.
I don't know that I've ever watched more than about 12 seconds of a Star Trek show,
I
and
feel
I've
like
never watched a movie.
there's those two kinds of people. There are the Trekkies and the people who have not watched.
But it's not for lack of enjoying like space sci-fi type stuff because I loved Star Wars growing up.
Oh,
Like anytime we were sick home from school, we would sit there and watch episode 4, 5, and 6 in a row on VHS over and over and over again until we were well enough to go back to school.
yeah,
And so I love Star Wars,
yeah,
but I just never got into Star Trek.
yeah. It's fine. And in Star Trek, it's the kind of thing where you just get into it. It's not like you just enjoy single episodes in isolation. It's like
You have to watch the whole thing.
it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sing it says congratulations on getting your iron under control. Yes, that's been amazing with all the stuff that I'm dealing with. Like having the iron piece is very important because when you have all those overlapping things, it's like I feel terrible and I have no idea if what I'm doing is helping because maybe it is helping something, but I'm also feeling terrible from this other thing, so I can't tease it out. And so
Yeah.
having, getting everything into place, it's like you finally feel what it feels like to feel good. So it is pretty exciting. And I'm just, I kind of feel like House of Cards type feelings where I'm like, I can't do anything to mess this up. Like I gotta.
I can't drink the coffee at the wrong time or else I will
Exactly.
totally mess up my numbers.
I'm like, oh, I got to keep my hormones good. I got to do all the things. So, and that
You
makes me
know,
stressed, and that's probably going to mess me up.
right. And I think that maintaining health or achieving a certain like marker in health is one of those things where it could be our full-time job, just sitting there
Oh,
fulfilling all of the different little small tasks that it takes in order to achieve whatever results we want on a test. And it's like, you can't really do that 24/7 because, we have like homes to take care of, children to take care of,
yes.
spouses to do life with, community to do life with. Like, it's just, you cannot
Yeah.
only focus on just like the end of your nose with your health to the point
Yeah.
where it shuts everything else out. And it's like,
Yeah, because that
sustainability
actually ends up
matters.
being unhealthy, I think.
Oh, 100%. We're designed to be in
Isolate
relationship with our
yourself.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so hard to find that balance. Balance. There's that word again.
I
Shoot.
know. I know.
Chris
It's like,
says you can easily rearrange the live stream. Yes, we know this, but Lindsay earned being on that side. So I'm not going to just take that away from her. She got here first. It is fine.
you're
We
not
like
first, you're last.
we like to mix it up every once in a while and keep everyone on their toes.
It's true.
Wait a minute, I just realized we don't have our little name labels on.
Oh, well, that's
Now we're
fun.
really keeping people on their toes. They don't even know who we are. That's weird.
Hi, I am Neely 2.0.
Since she's on that side,
That's
obviously
Neely or Lindsay 2.0.
yeah,
Actually, I'm Neely Beta. I'm in the beta test.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Restream made some updates and we were talking about them before we got on, but I must have to go back in and do a thing to
Have the names back.
have the names, but hopefully you guys know who we are. If you need us to remind you, let us know.
I am very good at remembering who I am. Kind of.
Yeah. Rickwin says just tried the cantaloupe keto chow. Love the flavor, though the creaminess throws me off, but still good. Yes. I had one the other day made with butter, and I was like,
Yeah.
in what other context would you ever have cantaloupe with butter? This is very strange. I mean, I was trying to think of, you could do like vanilla ice cream, cantaloupe.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Or some whipped cream, like in a fruit salad or something.
Okay.
Cantaloupe, but butter. Cantaloupe and butter. But it's still good. Like it still somehow works.
It definitely works.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the cantaloupes?
I don't like cantaloupe as a fruit by itself. So whenever I first, dove into a keto-friendly way of life, I was not saddened by the fact that I couldn't have the melons because none of the melons, I'd never liked them.
Mm.
Um, However, I have discovered that melon flavors in products, I am all
Yeah.
for. So the cantaloupe, the freshness of it, I was like, heck yeah, that's delicious. I really liked it. And kind of like the Mondo melon flavor from Salty,
Mhm.
um, the watermelon salt from Element, like those watermelony flavors, any of the melon flavors, I'm into it. The cantaloupe definitely falls into a thumbs up from me flavor profile. So I
Interesting.
don't know. I feel like it's a winner for me.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I think it's great for summer. Jeff
Yes.
does not like it. I'll put that out there. He is
So,
convinced that it tastes like bubble gum.
well, that's he is welcome to taste what he
Try-
tastes.
I'm trying to see it, and I don't. I mean, it tastes like fruity, and bubble gum is kind of vaguely fruity. I
Like
don't.
zebra stripe gum was fruity to me, but like
Yeah,
regular double bubble gum did
bubble
not
gum.
have a fruity
Yeah,
flavor.
he's like, this is my second least favorite next to pistachio because he thinks pistachio tastes like Play-Doh.
I have many curiosities about his childhood. How
Yes,
much gum and Play-Doh at one time did he eat?
I'm sure enough.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
they ever come out with a flavor that tastes like paste to him, we'll
Oh,
really have
yeah,
to dig further into his childhood.
yeah. No, it explains a lot. No, well, one of the greatest stories I heard about his childhood that really explained a lot for me was there was a time where his mom did childcare at home for other kids. And so they had a kind of a daycare type thing going on. And he said with one of the kids, they would sit crisscross across from each other and bang their foreheads together until one of them cried uncle.
I mean, wow.
He's like,
Wow.
please don't
Okay.
give the children any ideas. Not that the girls would ever do that, but don't give Levi any ideas.
I feel like one of the goats might get involved with this fun game.
Levi does do that with the goats. He'll go in and like play, fight with them. He'll be like, I'm wrestling with the goats.
And you're like, yeah, you're gonna end up with a concussion while you're at it. Good luck,
Yeah,
son.
they're not that strong. You got to pick the right goats too, and the ones that he does it with don't have horns, so it does help.
That's fortunate. It's fortunate. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
boys, oh boys. Low carb spin is here. Hello.
Hi, ladies.
Um, exposing
Oh,
dark.
they said hello, ladies, to us too.
Yeah.
Hi, exposing
Yes,
darkness.
a lot of hello ladies. Um, what is they switched
Switched
to 3?
three times before.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, she's talking to Chris about like us flip-flopping
Oh,
positions.
okay, yeah, yeah. We just, confuse everybody.
Sing it. Would you like a job for our keeper of minutes? It doesn't pay much,
Yeah.
except intrinsic reward.
Uh, I'm winning says prayer truly helps with anxiety. I 100% agree. Could you both speak a bit on your Christian beliefs and prayer life? What do you
Well,
want to
that's
share
an
about
interesting.
that?
Well, I want you to start first since you had me start first on the last
Okay.
topic
All
last
right.
week, and I didn't know where we were going with all
Oh,
that.
that's right. I asked you a leading question. That was fun.
You sure did.
Yeah. Well, I am a Christian and I do pray. I don't, try to hide it or anything on my YouTube channel, but I also don't my YouTube channel is not a Christian information channel, so I don't um spend a lot of time, teaching or preaching or sharing a lot of that side of my life. That's something more that I share with the, regular people in my life and my community that, we live near and with in real life. But again, it's not a secret. I kind of feel like, just as a personal conviction for my channel, when people come to my channel, they're coming for kitchen stuff and recipes and, grocery hauls and things like that. And so to throw in stuff that they're not actually there for, it's like, it just is out of place. So it does come up because it is part of my life, but it's not something that I spend a lot of time talking about. So anyways, that's why you don't hear it all the time, but that doesn't mean it's not a big part of my life. So that's it.
I also am a Christian, and I don't typically share a whole lot about that on my channel either, largely for similar reasons that Neely just shared. I will talk about like going to church or hosting home group, or some of the little things that are just like part of my day in my what I eat in a day videos. But I also don't really, I don't feel like I have a place for me talking about my beliefs on my channel either. And I also don't believe that I have the authority to sit here and teach others on my channel. It's just not what I've been called to. But I also would say I don't struggle with anxiety. I tend to struggle with dying to myself. And so that's really where my prayer life kind of reverts back to often, is help me die to myself, because I need to sit down here. I need to just maybe not try to be so much for so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mentioned anxiety earlier with, having an appointment later in the day and like the anxiety. And so I definitely have dealt with social anxiety for a lot of my life. And, my faith definitely is a big part of working through that. I won't say that I don't struggle with it anymore or anything like that, but working through it. And it's way, my faith is a big part of getting me to the point that I am now, which I feel like it's not crippling to me. Like it's something that I do feel, and a part of it has to do with my personality, I think, but it's not something that, has a hold over me or keeps me from living life or anything like that. So I think there's, big A anxiety and little a anxiety, where it's just like, oh yeah,
situationally, like,
and
pinpointed.
yeah, maybe there's a better word for it, where it's just like, oh, I'm just aware and I'm like preoccupied with that thing that's going to happen when, and it's causing me to not be able to focus on this thing that I could be doing right now. So but it's not like oh, I'm so scared, sweating bullets or anything like that. It's yeah, maybe there's a better word.
And we discovered that last week. Words really matter.
Yes. Yeah, and when you stop to think about it, you can learn, like, there are better ways to say things, and that's okay. Yeah. Let's see. It's Harmony Stamps with Michelle, my first live. Welcome. Thanks
We're
for
glad you're here
today. Okay, and Recreating Karen is here, and that's Southern Ketovore. I didn't know you
What?
changed your name.
Karen, where have you been?
Yeah,
I sent her a
seriously.
message on the Instagrams a couple days ago, maybe, just because I hadn't seen anything from her. And I
Yeah,
gotta tell you, like,
1,000
her
rutabagas. And I assume that's at work, because she
at
works
work,
in a produce
produce
department.
department.
Unless, you're just doing some batch cooking at home.
Well, we
Could be
miss
awesome.
you. And Angie, her
Yeah.
sister-in-law,
Yeah.
Angie.
Oh, yeah, and you got to meet her at
I got to meet them both over at Keto Palooza.
So jealous. Yvonne is here. Hello.
Good morning.
Exposing Darkness says it's your favorite brand, perhaps Keto Chow. I don't know why you would say that. Doesn't make sense. Cheryl is here. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, Chris has Salty and Keto Chow on his Aura Ring and watch band.
Fancy. Oh yeah, we got to see the Salty on his watch band when we were in Utah.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, the ring looks 70s, not the cup. I mean, it all goes together.
Yeah. I tell you what, those Aura ring or rings or any of those tracking rings, they just seem so bulky to me. And
Yeah,
maybe it doesn't feel that way whenever you're actually accustomed to it. But I'm like, I already cut myself, burn myself, smash my hand on things like left, right, center. I just don't know how much more I would do that with a ring
yeah.
on my
Yeah, well,
finger.
apparently this one is smaller than an Aura ring,
Okay.
and it's super light. I think it said it's 2.4 grams. It does feel crazy light. It's super light.
Wow.
Anyways, and I mean, it's anything takes a little bit of getting used to, but I think
Hmm.
I've gotten used to it. I got it primarily I was thinking it would be on this finger, but my knuckle is so big that I can't get it off easily. I can get it on and
Uh-huh.
it feels
Uh-huh.
fine, but I can't get it
Yeah.
off easily, and it feels claustrophobic to not be able to just take off my ring whenever I want to. So I found that
Yeah.
right now it fits better there, but I
On
think
your
it
front
makes the look of
front
it
your
better.
front finger. Front
But then
finger.
they say that you get the best data results if you put it on your first finger. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Oh.
So
Well, and if the whole point is to acquire the data so that you can make meaningful changes,
I know it's
that
like,
would make the most sense.
yeah. So, but I don't think it's too intrusive. I don't know. And then I got my Fitbit too, so it's a lot.
If they could turn those into about like this thickness, like
Yeah,
width-wise,
I imagine
like
it'll happen soon.
that's
Everything gets
about the
smaller.
thickest I can withstand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really not bad. I've gotten used to it really quickly. It's been less than a week, I think, that I've had it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Old Farm Show is here. Hello. Um,
Hi.
okay, so Chris has some, well, actually, information for us. Star Wars is typically seen as a fantasy that is in space. It's not really sci-fi. So you can't say that you
Uh,
like sci-fi. Yeah.
well, maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe I just like space operas.
Yeah. And that's okay. Everyone has their thing. Um Trekkies or Star Wars, Trekkies here engage. Yes, engage. I love how all the captains have their own little thing that they say for go. Lynette is here. Hi, Lynette. Thanks for joining us.
We're so
We
happy
need
to
to have
see you,
Lynette
Lynette.
on a coffee chat and do a Lynette chat.
Dude, we
Do that.
totally do. We need
Okay,
to have her on
we're gonna do that.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. Crystal is here. Hello. Oh,
Hi.
I think she's talking about the cantaloupe. Had it today with butter. It was great, like cantaloupe ice cream. Yep. And have you ever
Delicious.
seen cantaloupe ice cream in the store? I don't know that I've
No.
ever seen that flavor on the shelf. Not that I've been looking for it.
No. I I can imagine it being a sorbet or a sherbet, which are apparently two different things. And I can't quite remember what the actual difference is between them, but there is apparently a difference.
Okay.
I could imagine it
Well,
being that, but I've
actually.
never actually, I know, right? I've never actually seen it on a shelf. So that's just my brain extrapolating from the fruity sorbet and sherbet things that I have seen.
Yes. Evelyn says, so liking cantaloupe keto chow is the equivalent of liking Jolly Ranchers, but not liking fruit. Sure. Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I used
Cindy
to
is
like
here.
the watermelon flavored Jolly Ranchers too
Yeah. Yeah.
before I went keto.
Yeah.
Hi, Cindy.
Cindy is here. Let's see. Low carb spin says, I pray every time I take out a loaf of egg white bread from the oven. Yep. Yep. That causes you to remember that there is a God.
Hmm. Hold your breath and pray.
Yeah. Oh,
Kids,
that's
stop
funny.
jumping through the entire kitchen. It's like a souffle coming out.
Seriously. Oh, and then it's like every time it has a mind of its own. It's like you can never do exactly the same things and get the same result. It's always a surprise.
Yep.
Yeah, Cindy says, I was always told two topics not to discuss, religion and politics. Yep. That's a good rule to live
It's
by here
fair.
on YouTube. You're gonna get canceled from all different angles if you start talking about any of those things. I mean,
I mean,
even
and those kind
diet, you probably shouldn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
talk about because you're going to get canceled from from somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Let's see. Chris says, I lived in Chile for a few years. I had a friend that told me in their military there are 3 topics that you're not allowed to discuss: religion, politics, and football. Yeah,
Football.
that's practically a religion.
Well, that's like a worldwide religion.
Yeah, true. True. Okay, Lynette's in. So we got to do it.
We need to get you on our book.
Yes. Let's see. Lori is here. Hello. She made a live. Oh yeah, I saw this pop up on my feed and I haven't watched it yet. Karen Entries from Low Carb Spin did a faux rye bread.
How fun. I need to pull that up.
Yeah.
Also, whenever I read the words faux rye, I was thinking fry, kind of like Navajo fry bread.
That would be good too. We could do that.
Heck yeah, it would.
All right. So Cindy says it's dead on rye bread. That sounds good.
I wonder how much flax is in it, because I would think that flax would help it
Be brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you could just put lots of ground up rye seeds in there too. Or not rye, caraway. Caraway seeds.
Yeah.
Because don't you put caraway in rye bread?
I think you might.
I mean, I think it usually often does at least.
Although now I want to go try that out and then make a Reuben.
Yeah, I love Reuben sandwiches.
That would be super fun.
Cindy says 0 flax. Oops.
That's interesting. Okay, well, put that on the list for videos to go watch after we're done here.
Yep. Okay, let's see.
Caraway, yes.
Okay. I think cantaloupe ice cream would be the best thing we never thought we ever needed to taste. I agree.
I thoroughly enjoyed it as a Ninja Creamy. I can tell you that much. I turned it into a little float.
I haven't
Deliciousness. I seriously, I have yet to find a flavor of keto chow that does not pair well with seltzer water, like carbonated water. Using that one, I love it.
Okay.
I do.
I'm gonna have to do that. Okay.
Chris asked a very important question earlier.
Yes, we will get to that question.
Okay.
Haley says, I love cantaloupe and I love butter. Now I'm craving them together. It would have to be delicious, right? I mean, it is in the keto chow. I don't know about, slathering butter on a piece of cantaloupe. That would take yeah, I don't know about that. But
I mean, choices would be made.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Chris asked about what's the longest word in Spanish. There you go. You did it. Good job.
I find it funny that they say goal. Like, what is the actual translation for that? Is it actually goal in Spanish? Or is it something else, but they've just adopted the English version because it's easy to make it last 23 seconds?
Yeah, it's just the thing you say. Okay, Yvonne says she made I assume the rye bread, and it's good. It's dangerous. It's so good.
Well, low carb spin, ladies. It looks like that's going to be on my docket of things to try. Goal equals meta. It definitely sounds better in English.
Yeah. Lynette says I still laugh so hard every time I hear that. Yeah. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions, let us know. Do we have a topic for the day?
So, not that I came prepared with. I've got a few things that have been rattling around in my brain that kind of continue on last week's conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
But short recap, if you have either slept since last week or did not watch last week's live stream / replay, we discussed the topic of restriction and whether or not a keto style diet or a carnivore style diet is restrictive. And there were lots of things said. and there were lots of feelings and
Yep.
a lot of contextual frames placed around those words. But ultimately, we kind of came to the conclusion for ourselves that words matter and the phrase restriction still means that you are limiting something or not having something specific.
You're restricting
And
to and you're restricting from both.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I was thinking about the fact that another phrase or another word, forgive me. Also, I can't not play with things. I'm sorry. Another word for restriction would be control.
Mm.
And you're controlling what you consume or
Mm.
controlling what food groups you eat. But there was a video that I had watched, and this creator talked about how restricting food groups entirely or saying no, banishing specific food groups was restriction, and restriction is bad.
Mhm.
In the following breath, this creator stated that their version of health was through portion control. And
Portion
to me,
restriction?
right. So it kind of was like, I don't know how you can in one breath say that restriction is unacceptable because it's against food groups,
Mhm.
but we can control all food groups. But then this creator went a few steps further than that and said that, you know, you're not going to go hog wild, you know, like you can have the carbs. You don't need to restrict yourself from carbs. And then in that next breath, obviously things like, you know, whole grains are appropriate, but obviously not the donuts. And it's like, wait a minute, wait a minute,
Wait, you're
wait a minute.
restricting
You
me
just
from donuts?
right. But I thought restriction restriction is bad from only food groups. Okay, so that's her premise. And then over here, portion control is good, even though control is a different word for restriction. Okay, but there's no restriction against food groups. But then we got to clarify which carbs are okay because now we're restricting from specific types of food carbs. And I'm just like,
So is restriction bad or not?
I know. And I feel like the way that you discussed it last week is it just sums it up so eloquently and simplistically that anybody can understand. It
Mm.
is restrictive.
Mhm.
Why is it worth restricting?
Mhm. Yes.
That phrasing of it just like, I mean, obviously it stuck with me all week because here I am still thinking about it. I just struggled with that this week. And past day or two, the whole concept of restriction bad, portion control good, also restrict specific types of this food group, even though we're not supposed to restrict anything. I couldn't decide which side of the mouth the creator was talking out of.
Right.
And I just,
Well, and
okay, I'm gonna
yes. And so when you break it down like that, it makes it easy to see like, oh, that doesn't actually make sense. But what she was feeling made sense to her. And
yes.
so I get when people say that they're say those kinds of things. They're trying to communicate something, but the words
Mm-hmm.
that they're using don't actually match what it is they're trying to communicate. And my point, or one of my points in talking about it was, I think we can be more effective
Mm-hmm.
in talking to people. I think when you use
Mm-hmm.
words that have meaning and
Twist
say
it.
exactly what you mean, it actually is
Mm-hmm.
more convincing to anybody else. So with
It's kind of
my
like, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead. I was
I
gonna
was
share.
gonna say it's kind of like if you are a salesperson for cars and you go in and you say, like, say you're at a Toyota dealership. Here's this big old Toyota Sequoia. It's an amazing car. It'll fit all 8 people. It'll fit this. It'll do that. It'll, you know, like take you across the country in comfort and all these things, but you completely ignore the fact that that thing could be a gas guzzler. We don't know. Or, like the maintenance cost could be pretty significant, or the engine might need a lot more attention than you're prepared for. That salesperson isn't really giving you the full picture. But if somebody else was like, hey, this is going to be a 23 mile per gallon vehicle, not the greatest. Hey, this is going to, need some maintenance after, 60,000 miles. But other than that, like, it's the car is well suited for your purposes. Like, you have a car salesman who does that versus someone who's just like only talking about the positives of their perspective.
Mm.
It makes them feel a lot less credible. I
Yeah.
used to sell cell phones, and people would come in and ask if they would come in and hear about a new cell phone plan, and I want to get the new plan. And I would go through their history and say, do you plan on changing how you use your phone? No. Well, if you do this, I'm happy to do that for you. But also, that's going to change the way that you spend your money every month.
Mhm.
And it's going to change the way that you benefit from this every month. Are you prepared for that? It's like,
Yeah.
know the risks and know the rewards. But also, like, I couldn't sell people on things that I didn't, share with them the negatives. And
Just
that made
honest.
me a not great salesperson, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, so with my diet over the years, it's like I was always looking for this unicorn of a diet where I felt like I could eat whatever I wanted, and
Hmm.
I stopped when I didn't want to eat too much, and I felt satisfied all the time. Like, I wanted all those things, and it's still to cause weight loss. Like, and if you spend any amount of time in the diet world, you will find multitudes of diets that promise that.
Yes.
Like, this diet is not restrictive. Even even going as far as like intuitive eating. That was one thing that I went down for a while, because it's like you can choose
It
whatever you
sounds
want on the
awesome.
menu, and you just learn how to stop when you're full and you don't even want to finish the rest of the dessert. I'm like, "Oh, wow, that would be amazing." That's still restriction. Like,
Yes.
that's still restriction. Like, and so I got to the point where I realized that living an unrestricted life when it comes to food and food choice does not give me a healthy body, healthy life. It makes me
Hmm.
feel a way I don't want to feel.
Yeah.
So, therefore, I have to choose some form of restriction.
Hmm.
And so and the different kinds of restriction you can choose are as numerous as grains of sand on the seashore. Like, there's every single diet you can imagine, and then there's the, if it fits your macros, where you get to eat any food you want. It's unrestricted in the kinds of food you can eat, but you have to be restricted in the
It's
amount that you eat of the different macros. Or you
hmm
can restrict and be keto and say, I'm not eating any carbs, or even carnivore. I'm not eating anything but meat, but I can eat as much as I want of the
right.
meat. And so you're unrestricted in the amount of food you could put in your body, but you're very restricted in the types of food you can put in your body. And so, and like, between those, there's like a million different ways that you can restrict. You can do time restricted eating, where you just have a 1 hour eating window every day, and you get to eat
Hmm.
whatever, unrestricted eating in that 1 hour per day. But whatever the case, there is some kind of restriction. And then even people that I listen to that talk about restrictive diets being bad, and a permissive diet framework, that I think that's the phrase that's used, permissive diet framework, they still are focusing on getting all of the right nutrients that
Yeah.
you need,
Like, that's still restricting. Like, I
getting
only
all
want to
of
have one type of food.
right, getting all of the fiber that you need. So you're restricting yourself to this really varied diet. Like, you can't just eat,
Yeah.
you know,
One thing.
one thing throughout the day if you
Mhm.
wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
everything is restrictive unless you go the complete hedonistic, unrestricted route, which is not it doesn't end up being pleasant. Okay, so this is another thing that I've thought about for many years, and it I don't know, I haven't fully fleshed it out, but I'll just say what I'm thinking. There's this Gilmore Girls effect. Did you ever watch Gilmore
Okay.
Girls?
I did.
Okay. I loved the show. I thought it was adorable and
I
hilarious.
identified very much so with Lorelai.
Yes, yes. So, one of the sticks in the show is that these 2 beautiful, thin, healthy women ate tons of junk food. Tons. Like, if you looked at them, you'd be like, they eat an unrestricted diet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, like, it was a huge part of their lives, eating all this junk food. And the fantasy is that that can happen, like, that's real life. And obviously, like, we can look at it objectively and be like, that was a TV show. They did not eat that way in real life. Like, I can nearly 100% guarantee that that's not how they ate in their regular life. But there's this fantasy that we can be thin and beautiful and have men desire us and eat all of the candy and all of the junk food and all of the fast food and
Unrestricted.
unrestrictedly. And like there's this something and I've worked through this quite a few years ago. And so I feel like I don't have this anymore, but I definitely dealt with this at one point where it was like, it felt unfair. Like, I feel like I should be able to have that. And,
Mm.
and it's just, you just have to divorce yourself from that idea that that's even a reality, even though there are people who look like they are able to do that. And some people that do stay very healthy in a lot of ways, eating diets that maybe look like that. The reality for me and for I'd say probably most people is that it's either short-lived or it just doesn't exist at all.
Sure.
But there's
Sure.
something about like the media that we've been fed throughout our lives glorifying that where when we can't have it, it feels unjust. Like, it's so unfair. Why am I the only one that's not eating the cake at the birthday party and they're all skinnier than I am? Like
Mhm.
there's that I that I sh- I don't deserve to have to be restricted. Like, it's not fair that I have
Mhm.
to restrict. And if you're able to
Yeah.
like get rid of that, cut that out, and reframe your mind about restriction, it really does help because anytime you do restrict and you like go and you watch people go on diets and then, you know, like I'll go on the diet on Monday and eat whatever they want until Monday. And then, Monday comes and then the weekend and, it's just like on and off, on and off.
Cyclical process.
And it's like there's this idea that I shouldn't have to restrict
Mhm.
when the reality is especially in the US, in this Western food world that we live in order to be healthy, there is some way that we have to restrict.
Yeah. We have to. And I would argue it's not just like a Gilmore Girls effect, but it's literally like any TV show that happened to be on during our formative years,
Yes.
and probably just about any TV show on nowadays.
Yes.
These actors, actresses, they all show like standard American diet fare as their food consumption. You don't ever see a sitcom talking about like, I only eat this. And if they do, it's because they're making a joke about it or making
Right.
fun of it. I'm thinking of Seinfeld.
Oh,
Um, you know, it's like none of that is even a thing.
yeah.
It's here, this is what regular people look like because we're a regular people kind of a show. Everybody can see themselves in one of our characters, and our characters all eat, just whatever food happens to be available or tastes
Yeah.
good or is addictive or whatever the case may be. And and that's fine. We're just going to do that. And we're not going to demonstrate like any kind
Yeah.
of self-control or restraint.
Yeah.
We're just going to show it because we only have to worry about 24 minutes worth of a show or 47 minutes of a show to actually like demonstrate the storyline.
Yeah.
And we're not actually making the storyline about the food, but the food is just always kind of there. And I agree
Yeah.
with you. It feels very unfair
Yeah.
that you can watch thin people consume unrestrictedly, unabashedly,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you feel like you should be able to do that too. In high school, there were definitely girls through no fault of their own, their genetics just what were the, the genetics they were dealt, thin as a rail,
Yeah.
could literally put away more than one of the linebackers on our football team.
Mhm.
Like she could house food,
Yeah.
trash food, never once changed in size. Never once. And I'm like, I don't understand how that goes because I eat trash and I don't fit in my clothes.
Yeah. Say, I eat
So
trash and then I look like a trash can.
that's right. It's like Oscar the Grouch over here.
Yeah.
I'm just eating all the garbage. I don't know how it works. And so it's like I did know people that were like that in real
Yeah.
life. And they weren't exceptionally athletic either. It's not like they were on the soccer team or, running track or anything like that. They were in choir with me. And that was their only extracurricular. Whereas it was like I was swimming and I, was
Yeah.
burning all of the extra food and I was doing all these things. And yet
Mhm.
I did not have that experience.
Yeah.
Um, mm,
Yeah. So
it's
getting out of
fascinating.
that mindset of it is unfair and I
Mhm,
don't deserve to have to live this way, or I
mhm,
deserve to be able to eat whatever I want. That's
mhm.
really helpful because like
Yeah.
fighting that is real hard for any length of
Mhm.
time. So,
Yes. I will
uh,
say nowadays I feel like I deserve health, and therefore I'm going to choose with that as my
there you
guiding
go. That's a better way to
compass.
go.
I deserve health.
Yeah, well, and then if you want help,
Oh, husband.
yeah, that's fine, that's
I don't think he
fine.
actually tapped out. I think he just
Yeah,
felt like he needed to
and then
talk.
it says he missed a brief discussion of Star Wars. We cover everything. We're not
We're
restricted in
non
the
Yeah,
topics we cover.
that's right. All of them. And really, the Gilmore Girl effect was just to demonstrate a single point that's
Yeah.
actually a a point
Yeah,
that could be
I
applied to
don't
just about
remember
any 90s and 2000s show.
I don't remember much eating in Star Wars if they
I mean,
overindulged.
not really.
Not really. Did they even
Not
eat in
really.
Star Wars? There was the blue milk
Well,
thing.
yeah, which I one of our friends here in town, whenever he saw me drinking a blueberry keto chow, he said, "Why are you
Mm,
drinking Tatooine milk?"
yeah, yeah, it is
Because
what
it's
it looks like.
delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, so words mean something, and restriction
They
isn't
do.
bad, and if we can just be okay with the idea that we need some kind of restriction in our life, I think
Mhm.
we will do better in the long run. Because fighting against being like, "I don't deserve restriction, therefore I need to find a diet that's not restrictive,"
Right.
doesn't
I had
exist.
another analogy come to mind.
Okay. Uh-oh.
It just happens. Um, so we've talked about the fact that like, driving on the road compared to driving on a sidewalk, like we're restricted to driving on the road.
Mhm.
Um, so as we can keep everybody safe and abiding by the same rules. I was also thinking like when it comes to cars, cars can do a lot of really cool things. Like they can transport you from one place to another, or they can go around and round and round in circles as fast as they possibly can. Nobody's restricting their speed other than, the laws of physics. But
Mhm.
what is restricting them is where they're going. They're
Yeah.
not going anywhere. They're on the same track, going on the same loop. So they're restricted with where they're going, not how fast they're going. Whereas
Mm.
on a road, we are not restricted on where we can go. but we are restricted on how fast we can get there. So it's just like
Mhm.
there's always some level of restriction everywhere you turn.
Yeah, I think Jabba the Hutt is a good example of one who overindulged.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Don't make fun of him. He's big boned.
I know. No fat shaming. Come on.
Hey, that's another topic. Like we went from a very weird place of like, heroin chic in the 90s to like full on fat acceptance, fat glorification. And now with all of these medicines on the market
Mm,
and causing people to drop tremendous amounts of weight, it's like we're going back, like the pendulum has swung from one end of the spectrum to another. And that's a weird thing.
it is. It is.
But a totally different topic that we have no time for.
So everyone in the comments, tell us what's your favorite kind of restriction? Do you
My
like
favorite kind of
time
restriction.
restricted eating? Do you like the restricting carbs and just being keto? Do you like restricting all plant foods? Do you like restricting calories? Do you like restricting yourself to certain macro breakdowns? Let's talk about our favorite restrictions. We gotta we
Yes.
gotta put it in a positive light because as long as we're
I
like
mean,
fighting against the idea of any restriction being bad, we're not going to get anywhere because no matter
right.
what diet we choose, we will get to the point of understanding, feeling the reality that it is restrictive.
Yes.
We'll get
Can
there
I can
one
I
day.
can I tag on to the end of your question? What is your favorite restriction when it comes to your health and wellness, like your food consumption, and why?
Yeah.
What does that get you? Like
Yeah.
what is uh, the value add by choosing that restriction?
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite restriction, Lindsay?
My favorite restriction is saying no to carbs. Like,
Mhm.
no,
Oh, okay. That's
stop.
that's
Because
a
Jonathan,
macro abstainer.
that's a
You're more of
full
a micro
macro. I'm a micro abstainer. So saying no to all of the processed foods, all of
Wait,
the, what,
all of the processed foods?
not in the way where like the chicken eggs got put into a container and then were handed to me, like not that kind of
Did you know the
processing.
keto show is processed, Lindsay?
Okay, not in that way. Standard American. I
We're seeing
enjoy being
something.
restricted. I'm restricted and I like it. Okay. I like eating a keto friendly lifestyle. I like limiting my carbs. I like avoiding seed oils. I like avoiding standard American processed foods. I like cooking from scratch at home and restricting myself from eating out frequently. That's another side of the coin. Like, I don't eat out frequently unless we're actually not
Mm,
at home. So I restrict myself from going to a restaurant or ordering food. I just don't do that.
mhm.
Um, but am I restricted because I choose not to do that? Maybe that's where it's really a restriction or a non-restriction is the illusion of choice.
Mm. Yeah,
Okay.
I have been thinking a lot about this recently because of the changes that I've made to my diet with Jonathan and adding in more
Mhm.
carbs because
Sure.
I feel like I got myself to a place a few years ago when I started eating ketovore and really upped my
Mhm.
protein. I got to a place where I didn't have to be restrictive with the amount of food that I ate. Like I had found the restrictions I needed in the types of food that I ate,
Mhm.
and that caused me not to have to worry about the amount of food I ate. It kind of took care of itself. And so I was really happy that of course I didn't ever get down to the ideal weight that I wanted to be, which is another story, but I could maintain and be healthy and happy on without restricting amounts. Now,
Mhm.
with having these carbs added, I'm eating 75 to 100 grams of carbs per day. I I'm like, I don't think that I can stop
Backtrack
counting.
on that.
I don't think I could stop counting and be able to
Mm.
keep it at that 100 grams of carbs. It's not self-limiting.
Yeah.
So now I
Protein
feel
is
like,
very self-limiting.
yes. And so now I'm like, I'm frustrated because I don't like counting. I don't want to count forever, but I feel like if I keep carbs in my diet, I have to keep counting on some level. And so part of
Yes.
me is just like, ugh, I just want to go back to not having to count anything and just restricting the
Mhm.
food that I'm eating to something that is more self-limiting.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm
Yeah.
thinking through all of that, but I have not made any decisions. It's just all thoughts flowing through my brain.
Well, and making those decisions and then immediately like, okay, I haven't thought through it all the way, but I'm just going to commit to the decision and I'm going to make sure that I share it out there and then turn around 3 weeks later and say,
Oh,
well, actually what I'm doing is this. And, oftentimes we do things that we want to share with other people to let them know they're not alone or let them know like there are a variety of ways that you can achieve health and follow along as I do it. And maybe that will inspire you in a way you want to be inspired. But then it's just like whiplash for viewers whenever you go from
oh,
not
yeah.
extreme, but you go from one
One
ideology to a
restriction
different
to
ideology and
another
back and forth
restriction.
and back and forth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Oh, for sure.
if y'all wouldn't mind answering those questions that we had, there will be a test next week, so come prepared.
Yeah.
Also, before we go, there was one question that got asked a couple of times that we did not get to touch on just yet, but it seems like a fairly straightforward, fast
The salty
answer. Do
flavors?
you think we could yes, our
Yes.
favorite salty flavors.
Yes. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, my
You're on
favorite
the right
salty
side today.
flavors are Mondo melon, stoked mango, and I'm trying to think.
If you say my third favorite in that group
Now
of
I'm
3,
trying to remember
I'm
which
gonna
one.
lose it.
Oh, zesty orange. That's it, right?
Why do we even bother having both of us on here? Because we're the same.
Well, because then we just have to talk half as much.
Literally. Stoked mango, zesty orange.
Those are the good ones.
I
Those are the good
I
ones.
have I wind up doing this little thing where I wind up drinking all of one flavor at a time and then moving to the next
Oh,
flavor, kind of like whenever you like have a bunch of different variety of foods on your plate and you eat
mhm.
all of one thing and then you move to the next thing and then you move to the next thing. I know not everybody does that, but that is something I do. Um, yeah, so I wind up like drinking all of citrus salt first, and then I'll drink all of booyah berry, and
Mm,
then all of endless summer, and then I'll rotate through my other 3 flavors because
mhm.
I really like those. I have
Yeah.
discovered that I do really like the only one that I will intentionally pass on is citrus salt
Oh,
if
yeah.
I am really given a choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other 3 are just like top notch for me.
Yeah. And it's really funny for me because watermelon salt element and orange salt element are on the bottom of my list with the element flavors.
That's
But those
interesting.
but the melon and the, zesty orange are on the top of my list of the salty flavors, which
Yeah.
is so bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand it, but I like it.
All right. We have gone a little bit over our
We
standard
have
hour. We appreciate y'all being part of this conversation so very much. Hopefully next week we can sort of move on to something different to discuss other than restriction, but because we did ask all those questions and we really do want to know y'all's feedback, maybe we can
yeah,
discuss the feedback we get from the
yeah,
comment section next week.
sure, yeah, I
And
was just trying
then
to read through the comments here. Sing It says stoplights.
stoplights are
Just
very
something
restrictive.
responsible people have to do. That's a good restriction to keep.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite restriction, but
It's a necessary restriction for the
I
safety
am
of
thankful
all.
for that restriction that everyone should abide by. All right. But yes, thank you guys for joining. We'll be back next week, same time, same place.